This second part of the studio was strategy based. We named it resiliency because it required a creative response to the research and the synthesis of information into coherent frameworks while considering the element of time. We began with a quote by J.B. Jackson, the cultural historian. Quote, a landscape is a space deliberately created to speed up or slow down the process of nature. As Eliade expresses it, it represents man taking upon himself the role of time. Unquote. The element of time and speculation on the future of Greenwich in this era of climate change was especially challenging, but inspired resilient strategies. The phases of this strategic work were formatted to include individual precedent studies or case studies of other resilient projects, individual student strategy concepts or large scale design ideas, and then team strategy proposals with 3 students per team.
Culturecraft aims to connect different zones in Greenwich through a new perspective that would not only be recreational but resilient. Through our investigation, we identify 5 major zones and define them as gardens: the Memory Garden in Othello, the Water Garden in the Historic District, the Marina Garden in Pinemount Creek, the Marsh Garden in Bayside, and the Farm Garden in the agricultural area of Greenwich. A central trail connects these zones and functions as a passageway for pedestrians and bicyclists to experience Greenwich in a new way. In parts of the historic district and by the marshland, the trail serves as a levee that protects the town from floodwater in the event of a storm and the incoming 100-year flood level. A rain garden is situated on both sides of the historic district in order to help mitigate excess water and keep it from running into the village. By the Marina Garden, the path acts as a floodgate to control the amount of water coming into Pinemount Creek from the Cohansey River. By the marsh, a community of floating cabins is organized to accommodate tourists and provide access to the waterfront. The farm and water garden work together to incorporate an economic resilient strategy by developing a farm-to-table style restaurant that would be located in the historic district and access all their produce and crops from neighboring farms. The Memory Garden acts as a museum where African American artifacts can be displayed in honor of the Underground Railroad that would pass through the Bethel AME Church located in Othello. These images show how the path acts as a loop and would be flexible as it transforms from an unelevated recreational path to an infrastructural component for resiliency.
Shorescaping is the practice of anticipating future water levels and preemptively designing the infrastructure necessary to protect coastal communities in the present. There are benefits to working on dry land before it's underwater, and by integrating future infrastructure needs and amenities with current infrastructural improvements, we can enhance and protect our investments over the long run. In shorescaping, we look towards the future in the year 2100, where we conservatively predicted the water level would rise about 5 feet. This modest projection submerges almost one-third of the land in Greenwich, encroaching on farmlands, threatening local landmarks, fragmenting infrastructure, and establishing new shorelines. In order to preserve the vital past and capitalize on the emerging future, we proposed the creation of a central path to serve as a backbone for the town. This path, using existing roads and creating new paths using the existing property lines, would create a new pedestrian artery through the town to the new shoreline. This central path would be intersected by a series of paths that would create chambers of different landscape types from the bay to the upland. These smaller paths are coordinated with existing and future landmarks and areas of significance, and would offer an array of recreational, historical, and educational opportunities. On these paths, one could bike through the marsh, walk along the levees, learn the local history, launch a kayak, and do much more.
Our group primarily focused on the interactions between people and water. We define these moments of interaction as portals. Each project in and of itself aims to be a portal or access point that connects people with the riverfront. Whether it be on the water or by means of an adjacent pedestrian path, the sites of these portals are historic sites in which there was a previous interaction with the water. These interactions included shipping, fishing, harvesting, and general access, as well as resistance in the form of levees. With the use of portals, we aim to create a network that guests can use to see all of the points of interest in Greenwich, while experiencing the most important aspect of the town, the water. The portals connect via a kayak network that begins at the end of Ye Great Street and ends at Caviar. Along the way there are a variety of portal types, from the new pier into the Cohansey to a historic Underground Railroad portal. There are areas of resiliency along this path as well. A new dike is proposed to span Pine Mound Creek with an operable gate to allow tidal flow. This network will have access to all of the portals along the waterfront, making it easy and convenient for guests to visit them. Portals, as our group defines them, are arrival and departure points into the water, waterfront walkways that visually connect the land and the water, and navigational systems between different bodies of water. Portal Place attempts to introduce recreational resiliency, infrastructure, hospitality, and ecotourism to these sites. The projects are located along the Cohansey River and provide the town with social and physical resilience. Even as water levels continue to rise over the next century, they will help to develop a new typology of tourist economy, as well as providing resiliency and highlighting the uniqueness of the town.
Our studio's last strategy is called stratustilting. Stratustilting understands the horizontal and vertical stratums as one moves through the different environments on the site, like the wooded uplands, the farmlands, general waterfronts, and thick marshes. Stratustilting begins to provide stilting solutions with an initial 10 points or points of interest along a series of pathways. Stilting takes on the act of using elevated structures as a way to not only avoid the effects of rising water, but provide views and additional spaces for activity. Elevated structures or towers can include housing, recreation, leisure, and educational spaces. By modifying the height, width, connection, and form, stilting allows for many design opportunities. In stratustilting, as one ascends a stilted structure or tower, a person can make a visual connection with another tower in the distance. The map on the left shows where some of the viewpoints would take place, looking outward and inward. Highlighted in green, stratustilting interacts with existing roads as a way of connectivity, but also proposes ideas of bike and hiking paths. It would be useful to think of elevated pathways that one could walk on as they travel throughout the town. We recognize the different environmental zones of a coastal community and how the stilted towers are placed in varying areas. Moving inland, we start off from the lower marsh to the upper marsh, the expanses of farmland to the tree-dense uplands. Our tower examples would exist in a variety of environments, serving different environmental, economical, and educational value. By raising our pathways and structures with stilts, we avoid rising water. Our strategy acknowledges that a new waterfront would exist in the future, so our stilted pathways would connect the old to the new, in addition to some of the proposed towers on the bayfront.
In this resilience strategy part of our semester, as you have seen, each team incorporated the following criteria into their proposals: a clear, organizing concept for experiencing Greenwich, acknowledging, measuring, and responding to sea level rise, providing new ways of accessing the environment, the landscape, and recreation, new connections to economic opportunity, the idea of low impact construction and landscape interventions, revealing the true nature of the place, and finally, each strategy included a proposal for infrastructural investment that could become the foundation for next phase architectural design.